In the dawn of the jet age, a single aircraft would change the balance of air power and ignite the first great dogfights of the Cold War. With swept wings and a thunderous roar, the Mikoyan-Gurevich MiG-15 soared into history, rewriting the rules of aerial combat and challenging the world's most advanced air forces. This is the story of the MiG-15, an aircraft that became a legend in the skies. The MiG-15, also known as the Mikoyan-Gurevich MiG-15 or by its NATO reporting name Faggot, was a Soviet jet fighter that marked a turning point in military aviation. Designed as an early swept-wing jet, the MiG-15 was built for speed, climb rate, and firepower. Entering service in 1949, it became one of the most produced jet fighters in history, serving not only the Soviet Union but also dozens of allied nations. Its arrival would force a dramatic evolution in Western fighter design and tactics, and its silhouette became synonymous with the dawn of the jet-powered era. The MiG-15's story begins in the aftermath of World War II. The Soviet Union, recognizing the rapid advances in jet technology made by Germany and the Allies, sought to leap ahead in fighter design. The design bureau led by Artem Mikoyan and Mikhail Gurevich was tasked with creating a new jet fighter that could match or surpass anything in the West. Key to the MiG-15's development was the acquisition of British Rolls-Royce Nene turbojet engines, which the Soviets reverse-engineered and adapted into the Klimov VK-1 engine. This powerful engine, combined with lessons learned from German swept-wing research, allowed the MiG-15 to achieve unprecedented performance for its time. The prototype first flew on December 30, 1947, and after rapid testing, the aircraft entered frontline service with Soviet units in 1949. The MiG-15's arrival would soon be felt around the world. The MiG-15 was a single-seat, all-metal jet fighter with sharply swept wings and tail surfaces, a radical departure from the straight-wing jets of the early post-war years. Its swept-wing design, set at 35 degrees, reduced drag at high speeds and allowed for superior performance in transonic flight. The aircraft measured just over 10 meters in length, with a wingspan of 10 meters and an empty weight of around 3,600 kilograms. Powered by the Klimov VK-1 turbojet, the MiG-15 could reach speeds approaching 1,075 km per hour at altitude, with a service ceiling of 15,500 meters. Its rate of climb was exceptional, making it a formidable interceptor. The cockpit was simple and functional, with basic instrumentation and limited avionics by modern standards. The MiG-15's rugged construction and ease of maintenance made it suitable for mass production and operation in austere conditions, a key advantage for the Soviet military. The MiG-15 was built for air superiority and interception. Its primary armament consisted of a single 37mm Nudelman N-37 cannon and two 23mm NR-23 cannons, all mounted in the nose. This heavy firepower could destroy enemy bombers and fighters with a single burst, giving the MiG-15 a fearsome reputation in combat. The aircraft carried no radar, relying instead on visual detection and ground control interception. Its guns were complemented by simple but effective gun sights. The MiG-15's high speed, rapid climb, and tight turning ability at altitude made it a dangerous opponent for early Western jets. While it lacked advanced avionics, its straightforward systems allowed pilots to focus on flying and fighting, and its robust design meant it could absorb significant battle damage and keep flying. The MiG-15 was also adaptable, serving in both day fighter and interceptor roles, and later as a trainer in the two-seat MiG-15 UTI variant. The MiG-15's combat debut came in the skies over Korea in 1950. There, Soviet, Chinese, and North Korean pilots flying MiG-15s faced off against United Nations forces, including the United States Air Force's F-86 Sabre. The resulting dogfights over MiG Alley became legendary, with both sides claiming significant victories. The MiG-15's speed, climb, and heavy cannons made it a deadly adversary, particularly against slower piston-engine aircraft and early jets. It was responsible for shooting down numerous enemy bombers and fighters, and its presence forced the Allies to accelerate development of improved jet fighters and tactics. Beyond Korea, the MiG-15 was exported widely throughout the Soviet bloc and to Allied nations in Asia, the Middle East, and Africa. It served in the air forces of over 40 countries, participating in various regional conflicts and remaining in secondary roles for decades. While eventually replaced by more advanced supersonic fighters, the MiG-15's influence on air combat was profound. The MiG-15's greatest strengths lay in its swept-wing design, powerful engine, and heavy armament. Its high speed and rapid climb allowed it to dictate the terms of engagement, especially at high altitudes. The 37mm and 23mm cannons gave it the ability to destroy even heavily armored bombers with a single pass. Its simple, rugged construction made it reliable and easy to maintain, even in challenging environments. The MiG-15's performance forced Western designers to rethink their own aircraft, leading directly to the development of more advanced fighters. In the hands of skilled pilots, the MiG-15 was a formidable adversary, and its widespread export helped shape air forces around the world during the early Cold War. Despite its strengths, the MiG-15 had notable limitations. Its avionics and radar were minimal, leaving pilots reliant on visual detection and ground control for interception. The aircraft's high-speed handling could be demanding, particularly in sharp turns or dives, and inexperienced pilots sometimes found it difficult to control at the edge of its performance envelope. As technology advanced, the MiG-15 was quickly outclassed by supersonic fighters with better radar, missiles, and all-weather capability. Its heavy cannons, while powerful, had a low rate of fire and limited ammunition. By the late 1950s and 1960s, the MiG-15 was relegated to training and secondary roles, as newer designs took over frontline duties. For historical context, the Mikoyan-Gurevich MiG-15 should be read as a product of a specific requirement, not as an isolated machine. It was built by Mikoyan-Gurevich for Soviet Union, with the intended role of early swept-wing jet fighter and interceptor. Its first flight is recorded as December 30, 1947, and its service entry is recorded as 1949 with Soviet units. Those dates matter because they place the aircraft inside the technology, doctrine, budget pressure, and threat assumptions of its era. The technical story also depends on how the airframe connected structure, propulsion, systems, and crew workload. Key recorded details include crew, one pilot, engine, Klimov turbojet derived from Rolls-Royce Nene technology, structure, swept-wing all-metal jet fighter, weapons, 137mm cannon and 223mm cannon, mission, interception and air superiority. In practical terms, an aircraft is never just an engine or a wing. Range, speed, radar, sensors, targeting equipment, weapons, avionics, fuel capacity, maintenance access, and mission planning all decide whether the design can do useful work repeatedly. The operational record of the Mikoyan-Gurevich MiG-15 is tied to Korean War, Cold War export service. Those examples show how the aircraft performed away from brochures and test figures. Combat service, patrol work, reconnaissance, training, deterrence, and deployment tempo all reveal different truths. A design that looks strong on paper still depends on crews, spare parts, weather, basing, intelligence, rules of engagement, and the ability to return for another sortie. The main strength of the Mikoyan-Gurevich MiG-15 was swept-wing its strong high-speed performance, heavy cannon armament, major influence on early Cold War air combat. That strength did not mean perfection. It meant the aircraft gave commanders a useful answer to a real problem. The best way to judge it is to ask what mission it made easier, what earlier limitation it solved, and whether operators kept trusting it after the first years of service. The main weakness and limitation of the Mikoyan-Gurevich MiG-15 was limited radar and avionics, demanding high-speed handling, eventually surpassed by supersonic fighters. Its later status is best summarized as retired from frontline service as later jets replaced it. Every military aircraft eventually needs newer sensors, newer missiles, changed budgets, aging structures, and different doctrine. That is why the final verdict has to balance reputation against evidence, what the aircraft promised, what it actually delivered, and what it cost to keep useful. A final practical point is sustainment. The Mikoyan-Gurevich MiG-15 required trained pilots, ground crews, inspections, spare parts, fuel, weapons handling, and mission planning before it could produce a useful sortie. That support system is part of the aircraft's real history. Performance figures explain what a machine might do once airborne, but readiness, repair time, training quality, safety margins, and upgrade paths explain whether an air arm could keep using it year after year. The MiG-15's legacy is undeniable. As one of the first successful swept-wing jet fighters, it set the standard for a generation of combat aircraft. Its impact on the Korean War, and on the evolution of air combat, was immense. Though long retired from frontline service, the MiG-15 remains an icon of the early jet age, a symbol of innovation, rivalry, and the relentless drive for air superiority. If you enjoyed this in-depth look at the MiG-15, subscribe for more stories from the history of military aviation.